Alright, just testing audio. Okay, we're good. Alright, I'm going to actually had one of our members from Facebook group asked me to come on an hour early and kind of go through the slate or how I break it down. He actually just built his first spreadsheet, and he kind of is going a little bit along with what I'm doing. So he asked me to kind of do mine as he's doing his. So what I will say is this is going to be a little bit longer than, well, a lot longer than normal. Normally I'm on for about 15 minutes, so I'm going to spend some more time. So if you don't want to hear any of this, you don't have to tune in. This is really was for him, and again, it's going to be longer than it normally is. So if you want to just wait till the end, you can do that. Or as I go through it, I'm going to update it on the website here that I always do. It's dfs.network, and I'll be, as I go through my sheet, I'll be updating the players on this site. So you don't really have to listen to this. You can go there. If you do your own homework and you're interested in how I break down some of the players, then you might want to listen as well. It's up to you. So we're going to start. Again, I'm kind of just going to take my time with this, so it's going to be a while. Okay, I wanted to first see if anything has changed. So we got Sterling Brown in at shooting guard, Snell at small forward, and Middleton is moving to power forward. So that's a little different from Milwaukee. Cabaret, or Cabaret, however you say his name, is... Oh, wow, Fultz was getting ready to come back, huh? I didn't know he was coming back this soon, but I guess they scratched him and put in Cabaret at shooting guard, and then we got Gobert is center. I guess that's normal. Harrison is questionable from Memphis. We're going to need to keep an eye on that. That's really it. Again, that's dfs.network. You can go right on there and see the updates as I watch them. Okay, so we're going to start. So, Andrew, if you're watching already, I don't know if you come on this early, but so what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the tier players first. So what I'm doing is when I go through and excuse me, in basketball, obviously the most important thing is your minutes. So what I like to do is do my best prediction of the minutes that I think the players are going to get, and I base this off of the game quality, who's out. There's about 4 or 5 factors that I go by. So that's here in the middle. I don't know if you can see this. Unfortunately, I can't really blow it up because I got so much information on here on this one screen that I need to be able to see all of it myself. If I blow it up, it's gonna be me just scrolling all over the place. So these are the top. Let me sort these first, so I don't have to do it as we're doing it. So I do them in tiers. Tiers based on how much game time these players are going to get. I think that's kind of where you have to start off, because obviously if you guys aren't out there, they're not going to get points. And then what I do is if someone is a smaller, has smaller minutes, I look at the game itself, and I try to estimate as best that I can. Like tonight, actually, this is actually a huge advantage. I don't go by just the line. You can't go by if someone's favored by 8.5. You got New Orleans and Memphis game, so that's an 8.5 spread. Just because it's an 8.5 spread, I don't ever automatically assume that's going to be a blowout. And it never usually is the case that the highest spread is the blowout. It's always that kind of that middle game, the 7 points or the 6 points. That one ends up being the blowout, and the huge one a lot of the times, or at least 50% of the time, ends up sometimes being a close one, or sometimes I've seen blowouts the complete opposite way too. So I don't only go by the spread. Do not ever go by the spread. There's three things that I qualify a game by. Spread is the third. Pace is the first. I think pace is probably the most important thing you need to look at in these games. And then defense at each position. So what positions are going to be slowed down on defense, and that matters a lot to do with the pace as well. If a team is pacing down, they're going to be more susceptible to defensive players on the other team because now they're getting slowed down. If a team's pacing up, and both teams end up pacing up, you're going to end up having a game that doesn't matter so much on defense because they're just going to go end to end and score at will. So it's going to kind of be like the All-Star game where it doesn't matter. There is no defense. So first is pace. Pace controls the game. And then you're looking at defense, which matchups are going to get slowed down on defense. And then you go to the spread of the game, and I do a point system based on that to kind of dictate. And a lot of the times this really does, more times than not, it comes out pretty accurate with how I can kind of predict what's going to happen in a game, and then I go look for the players in those games. So what I was saying is tonight, and Andrew, make sure this is on your sheet. The Memphis and what was it? Where is it? Memphis and New Orleans game. This to me I think is going to be a blowout because not only is it the highest spread, but it's the biggest differential in pace, and you got some defensive matchups there. They're going to hurt the other team. So I think that this is going to be a blowout by New Orleans. We'll see how good that predicts it. But a lot of times the highest spread is not the game that I think is going to be the blowout. Okay, so now what we want to look for in a blowout game now, obviously, is that bench player that is going to get extra minutes. About 3 or 4 nights ago, the big blowout game, or the game that was going to be supposedly the most lopsided, was San Antonio. And Parker was starting at point guard, had a great defensive matchup, but I went with Mills. I think it was one or the other. Mills was starting and Parker wasn't, or Parker was and Mills wasn't, whatever. Ended up going because of the lopsided prediction of the score. I went with the bench player, and he ended up being the highest scorer, the best percentage on the whole slate for DFS, value-wise. Okay. Okay, so starting at the top, Okay, first game we have, or first players we have, who should get the most minutes on the court tonight. And again, this is how I usually break it down. I predict the minutes, and then I weed out the players based on defensive matchups and so on and so on. So here we have Middleton and Davis. So right off the bat, I think this game's going to be the blowout. And he doesn't have like a top defensive matchup either, Anthony Davis. So I'm going to fade Anthony Davis based on the game itself. And again, you run a little risk on this, obviously, because if the game ends up being close. But what I like to do is get the game quality first. That way I'm kind of covered both ways. Even if the game is a blowout, I'm still getting the best players from the best games. So, Middleton. So this is a blue. So positive. Again, if you're just coming in, I'm kind of going through the sheet little one step by step because I have somebody else that just built their first spreadsheet, so I'm kind of going through it with them. If you want to just see who we're picking, you can go to the site dfs.network, or you can kind of tune in towards the end here, closer to lock, and I'm going to go through the sheet again, but right now I'm just going to go slow. I have my Andrew in a separate chat box. I'm kind of going through it with him at the same time, so I'm just doing it live mainly for him, but I just wanted to be live just to give everyone else the benefit if someone else wanted to watch it as well. So Anthony Davis is a fade. I like that anyway. Even when I like Anthony Davis, you just never know. The guy can get hurt at any moment. He's just a scary guy to have. And I'm not going to completely rule him out. What I do is, again, starting from the top to the bottom, I'm guessing there's going to be plenty of plays on a slate like this. But if it was a small slate, we might end up going back to Davis and just hope that he gets those points because he is at the top as far as getting the minutes on the court. So, but I think it's going to be fine. I think we're going to find other plays no matter what. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at Middleton. So he's got a decent, so he should get a ton of minutes. Highest minutes on Milwaukee. We got a game total 102, which is not great. Defensive matchup is decent, but again, nothing great. Got a lower total, a total of 102, so it's one of the lower scoring games. 0.3. So typically the game rating, I run from a 0, which is the best, to a 7, which is the worst. So we have a game rating of a 3 for Middleton. We have a game rating of a 5 for Davis. So 5 rules out Davis just because I think that game's going to get out of control. 3 for Middleton is obviously middle of the road. We're probably going to revisit him. Another example of this exact where you have a top minutes player in a kind of a low-scoring game. The defensive matchup is kind of middle of the road, and the game grade is not great. This is a scenario where I think Middleton's probably going to get you 5 times money. So it isn't bad. We may end up revisiting him. I'm just going to fade him for now again. I would go back to Middleton before I went back to Davis. But going to fade Middleton for the moment. And then if we need that $8,000, so what'll happen is if we find a lot of value, and then we're down to $8,000 left, and we just need someone that is going to fill us up with the rest of that lineup at a good rate of times money, it would be a Middleton that could get you 5 times money, $8,000 salary. So he should be good for his 40 points tonight. But I always try to reach for 6 times money. I don't really want those 5 times because really 5 times doesn't win you anything anymore. There was a day when it did, but it's not anymore. All right, so now we're going to go to the second tier. So we have Paul. And these. Okay, so these are 15s. Okay. All right, so I'm going to rule out some guys right now and get rid of some. So right off the bat, Harrison Barnes, this Dallas game, I think this game's I think these players are the points are gonna be spread out all over the place. So I don't mind taking some Dallas players. I don't want these top guys. So Barnes is out. I just want to make sure I'm getting value with my Dallas players tonight. They're in a defensive game against Portland. Okay, McCollum has a tough matchup. Barnes is out. Alright, wait a minute. So we got a little value here. So I'm definitely out with Yogi. I got some value here with just double check here. Okay, so 14 plus. Okay, so 6 MCT. Okay, so we got a little value with Dallas. Wesley Matthews. Just make sure here. Wesley Matthews is in play. He should see some extra minutes tonight. I don't like the defensive matchup, but they are pacing up. So he's definitely good value. He's going to see a ton of minutes. Ugh, his usage is just... He's a scary guy, but... So we'll see if there's... right now I like him at 4,700. I mean, it's pretty cheap. You're not going to get... he's going to be on the court the majority of that game. Alright, the other fade is do not like Lou Williams. Again, I just kind of eliminate players first. He's got a really tough matchup. And he's obviously not cheap. So Yogi's gone. Eric Gordon. Coming off the bench. So he's kind of in a similar spot that he was in the other night. He went off. He was probably, I think he was the third best DFS player on the night. Yeah, he had a tough defensive matchup that night too. Pretty much should get the same minutes. Looking at the same type game. His price did drop a little. Yeah, I mean, I think he's in play. Gordon looks good. Harden's on minute restriction again, so he should get his minutes. All right, Chris Paul. So he didn't do too well the other night. So Kevin Durant, I'm gonna go back to Chris Paul. Kevin Durant pacing down. I think this is another similar situation. 5 times money. He should get you his 50 points. I don't see him doing much more than that. Again, we'll revisit him. Not fading him, but he's kind of like Middleton. I think he's depending on how the lineup. I always put these guys last. The top guys I always go in last. I never put the high salary guys in first. Then they dictate your lineup. Get your quality value guys in there, and then whatever money you have left. The big guys rarely, when a big guy has a top salary guy has a good night, they're just looking at 5 times, 6 times money, whereas your value guys are 7, 8 times money. So you really want to build the value first, and then go into the higher salary players. So depending on what I have left, so say I get the value I want. Already I got Matthews and Gordon, 2 players that are already in there for only 10 grand of the lineup. So I got 25% of my lineup and only spent 10 grand. So depending on what I have left, to me, Middleton and Durant are identical players tonight, in the sense that they're going to get 5 times the money. So all I'm going to do is fill a lineup with those guys. If I have 10 grand left, Durant goes in. If I have 8 grand left, Middleton goes in. They're both exactly the same type players to me. I always build backwards. So Paul's a tough one to predict. He really is. So let me look here. 1. I like Paul. So now we have a $9,000 player, so to fill the lineup with if we need it. Okay, Klay Thompson. 42, 78, 15 plus. Klay looks good to me. I like Klay more than I like Durant. Klay's in a nice spot. Averaging 40 points against Houston in a 236 game. It's hard to ignore Klay. That salary, $6,800. Okay, now we got Lillard. Lillard's got a great matchup. 107 total. $8,500. He's got a two quality game. That's a great spot for Lillard. So, for instance, tonight, if we have between $8,500 and $9,500 left, I'm going to take a Lillard over a Paul. they're close. These two are really close. But Lillard's obviously 1,000 less, so I would go Lillard over Paul for the price wise. But I guess Paul would probably be a shoe-in for 10 more points. Okay, McCollum, we already ruled him out. You know, due to the high totals on the other games, I'm going to get rid of Wesley Matthews. I'm going to look for value somewhere else. If it was a smaller slate, but now that we just had those couple spots up at the top, I'm just gonna fade him. I just feeling we can find some value elsewhere. But let's see what we end up with. If we have $5,000 left over and we need a spot, we'll take a shot with him. One of the lines. Jimmy Butler, 2 quality game. Okay, last time 46. Yeah, same. Yeah, I like. I'm not liking Butler tonight. The game's a quality 2. He is pacing up, but tough defensive matchup. Just too big a slate. So Towns. Towns has a good matchup. It's a good spot for Towns. I'm liking Towns more than I'm liking Butler there. DeRozan. So +11. Averaging 43 against Minnesota. on a back-to-back. Yeah, he looks good, but I noticed that back-to-back scares me a little bit. He's getting down here a little further in the game quality. 106 implied total. So it's not one of the top. Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from him just because he's on that back-to-back and on the road. Taj Gibson. I just don't like the way his usage is going, to be honest. I'm just staying away from him. I've played him a couple times and it just feels like I get burnt with him. Yeah, the other night, same thing. Okay, Donovan Mitchell. He's on a back-to-back, but he's home. Averaging only 31 points against Clippers. He's 7,500, so that's 4 times the money. That's kind of risky. I like him, especially on a back-to-back. I might take a risk with him if he wasn't on a back-to-back. But Kemba averaging 38. He's 7,300. -4. Kemba's in a decent spot here. Josh Richardson. No. He's got a bad matchup. Bledsoe. Pacing up 5. Possibly. He's under Kemba, but I like him. So it's a negative and that way and just 0. Yeah, so I'm gonna stay off Durant. I don't think I'm gonna have the money for him anyway. I think in the end I'm gonna be under $9 grand, so I'm gonna have to look. I'm not gonna have 10 grand extra to take a risk on Durant. I know it's tempting with that. We're gonna have to have some Golden State just because of that total, but I just don't want. I don't want him. Clay is definitely in play. So minus. Covington. Do not like him. Tony Snell, he just doesn't get the usage. He's got 1,000,000 minutes. The guy just doesn't touch the ball. You know, sometimes he does. He's only 3,800, and sometimes he gets his value, but it's just like crazy. Trying to wait for him to score. Okay, then 5. Okay, so kind of feel the same way. So we get poor quality on the New Orleans game. I just think that game's going to get out of hand, and again, that's just a call of mine. It's obviously a risky call. Sometimes it doesn't work out. You know, Drew Holiday isn't at a bad price if you wanted to take a chance on him, but I'm gonna just see how the slate finishes up here. But I'm just not a fan of New Orleans tonight. Okay, Draymond Green. I like both. These are my guys for Golden State, both of them. Curry and Green. So Durant has the tougher matchup. Thompson's the kind of the value play on Golden State, and Green and Curry I think are gonna should get the majority of the usage on that team for that 120 implied total. So instead of Durant, it's going to be Curry tonight. So Green and Curry are in play. All right, so Mute 5-4. So 5-4-7 plus. Got a 1. And he's starting again. I just had to ignore this guy at $4,200. $4,200. I know he went up $1,000. But he's going to get those. Houston just doesn't have a bench. And Harden's on minute restriction. I can't ignore him. 4,200 Mutes, and especially in a quality game like this, such a high total, pacing up. Mute is definitely in play. Jeff Teague. So I'm fading Lowry. I know we're jumping around here a little bit, but fading Lowry, same reason. Back to back on the road. Quality game's a 2. If it was a 1, I'd probably stick with him, but there's other options out there. Pacing down. He's got a decent matchup. I would go, if you're gonna go one or the other in that Toronto game, it's Lowry over DeRozan. But I'm gonna fade him. Jeff Teague. So 18 plus. So this is 15 minutes. 14. like Teague in this spot. I'm not a big Teague fan either. But 5,800. Pacing up. In the best quality number 2 value game. Teague's good, in a good spot here. Wiggins got a tough matchup. I'm gonna fade Wiggins. We have other options. Blake. Don't like Blake. Blake's not a $9,000 player. Dwight Howard. So I love Howard when he's in his spots that he's got a great defensive matchup against Miami and Whiteside. He doesn't have that. So I'm fading Howard. Again, don't mean to jump around, but fading Dylan Brooks. Just trying to find some of these guys to eliminate. Fading more, fading. I just don't like this Memphis-New Orleans game again. For the starters, we're going to look for some value off the bench in that game. So Memphis, Tariq Evans, and hold on. Yeah, I'm fading. There's just too much out there. I would consider Marc Gasol tonight. I think he's probably a decent play at 7,600. But you got one of the lower total games and one of the worst games. So fading him. Sarek's bad defensive matchup. Fading him. So the next 3 left here are so Dragic, he's on a back-to-back on the road. Low game now. I'm not taking him. Not on this slate. Nope. Fading Dragic. He's had a couple bad games too, I think. So Simmons. Fading Simmons. There's other options. We got plenty of point guard plays here. Embiid. So Embiid's got he's in a great spot. So Embiid 31, 5 plus minus 2. 50. He's averaging 54. So he should go a little over that. I could see Embiid with 60 points tonight. I like him a lot. Fade Simmons. Let me just check the site while we're in here. See if anything's changed. Oh, Love got hurt, huh? Oh, Dragic's questionable now for Miami. Harrison's still questionable. Brown is in for Milwaukee. Snell, Middleton, we knew that. Cabaret still there. Gobert. So none of that's changed. Alright, so why don't we update a couple of these while we're in here. So so far we like Clay. So I color code these. You can see up at the top. Hold on. So right here I put the tiers. Tier 1 through 7. And then I put dark gray for a fade. So you can see what tiers they are, tier 1 through tier 7, and then I just color code them. So Thompson, he is a tier 5. And that's on dfs.network. I'm just going to share this with the... Alright, so, excuse me. So Embiid, let me just update again these on the site. So we like Clay, we like Eric Gordon. So he is shooting guard, Houston. Gordon, bench play. And Lillard. And again, we're all in the top. These are the top top minutes, guys. So these are going to be no-brainers. As we get down here towards the bottom, we'll get some GPP plays going. Minnesota, Towns, Bledsoe, Green, Curry, Mote, and Teague. So Green and Curry are orange. There's Golden State. I mean, I think that's a pretty safe stack, those three. Green, Thompson, Curry. Then Mute for Houston. Teague for Minnesota. And Embiid. Okay, so those plays are already, they're all updated on the site, dfs.network. I'll update them as I keep going through here. All right, next tier down. So Harden, he's kind of an automatic fade right now. I mean, he could obviously, he's 9,700. They dropped him $1,600, but he's just 25 minutes is just not enough. He could do it, obviously, but it's not worth taking the risk on a slate like this. So Anderson. So one, and 5-4 starter. Yeah, I love Anderson in this game. Anderson's in a huge spot in this game. Probably one of the top plays of the night for Anderson. Huge value there. $4,500 in a. Let me see here. Let me just double check it, make sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't like where the usage goes here, but I just $4,500 just he's hard to ignore in this spot. It really is. We'll see how it works out, but so far we're kind of off. I mean, we got kind of Paul and standing on in standby right now to see if we need to spend that money, but Middleton's kind of looking like the play over him for $8,000 if we need to fill a lineup later. So Tucker is no play. So Tucker coming off the bench. So here's a good example. This is our first bench player on the list. He's got a bad defensive matchup, even though a lot of times he's not playing on the first team anyway, so it doesn't affect so much. Tucker just doesn't get the usage. I know he had a decent night the other night, but he doesn't get the usage numbers even when he's out there, no matter how much he's out there. Let me see. 5, 5, 8. Yeah, I mean, he's $3,700, but he could surprise us, but I just don't. He's in a one quality game, so this game I think is going to come right. I really think this game is going to be like back and forth and come right down to the end and be what exactly. This should be exactly what the line says it's going to be. I'm guessing this game is going to be decided within 4 points, either way, and probably a 240 total game. So Tucker's probably going to get his chance in there, but my guess is he's not going to get the usage when he is in there, and he's not going to get the garbage time where he is going to be more of a usage guy without the big guys on the court. So I'm going to stay away from him. You could I tell you, with this game, I mean, you could probably stack both sides of this with just, you go Curry, Thompson, Green, Mute, Anderson. Let's see who else we got. But Paul is another possibility. And you're really going to be, that game is so much higher than the rest of these. And again, a lot of times that isn't the highest quality game on my sheet, and it is tonight. A lot of times the highest total game is not the best quality game. So let's keep going through here. Aminu. So we got Aminu is a plus 22. 22 plus. with 50 minutes to lock. 22:13. Yeah, Mino's in a nice spot. So Aminu is in play, starting for Portland. He is a tier 5. Again, these are all on the site with the key for the tiers up in the top right, so you can see who's who. So Ingles pacing up. 4-3. Coming off the bench. So he's at 13. Coming off the bench. So Hood is on a back-to-back. I'm going to come back to Ingles. Ingles is a tough player to predict. So Hood. So we got a 5-3. 13 plus minutes. So you should see a little bump up. 0.6 MCT. No, not on the back-to-back. This isn't a bad spot for Ingles. 4,800. Should see a good bump up in minutes. 107 implied total. 13. Just don't like how his usage rate has been lately either, though. There's other. We'll find some other value. He's not horrible, but we'll find some other value. Ty Wallace, no. Green, hold on. Green. 3. 1-2 with a 0.04. No, I'm not on Ty Wallace, and Harrell's kind of creeping up there in price. He was the next guy in line here. Pacing down in that game, all set. bait him for Charlotte pacing down. Don't like that. I got Wayne Ellington on a back-to-back, pacing up, but bad defensive matchup. I'm all set with Ellington. He's way too unpredictable. Again, back-to-back on the road. So again, everyone's updated on the site. So as of right now, TJ McConnell, 4-4-6. You know, he's TJ McConnell. He's gonna. You're paying for him. You're still paying $5,000 for him. He's 5 times money guy. You know, if you need to round out a lineup with $5,000, he's pretty safe. 109 implied total. Decent defensive matchup. You know, McConnell's one of those guys, too, that could put up 30, 40 points, too, in a game on any given night if he's given the chance. All right, Henson, so... Again, this guy's pretty safe, too. He's in a low game, though. I wouldn't be afraid of him, but he's not my favorite play. But Henson's in play. Again, another 5. He'll get you 5 times money. I'm a big fan of power forwards and centers. Those are my favorite spots. I know everyone's center and point guard. I'm power forward and center. So I kind of give those guys, my spreadsheet's kind of set up to give those guys a little bit more of an edge too. So I do like Henson. I do like him against Philly. So I'm putting him on there as a so I put McConnell as a bench play on the site. So and we'll go Henson as a where you got Bledsoe. All right, so next tier down. So those are all updated online, dfs.network. So next one we have Capella. 3-2. 14 plus. 2 plus. Capella, 93. He didn't have that. Yeah, he did. These two are both in similar. I got these next tier. I got Capella and Nurkic right at the top, both of them. Both of them have identical matchups. I obviously like the Capella game more. And we don't really have... We have more value there. We don't have Harden or Paul. Well, let me just look at this a little further. So Capella 3, 18, 2. Minus 2. 12. Nope. Okay. So gonna actually stay off Capella. I don't like the 12s. Okay. Fading Capella. Nurkic is the guy. He's kind of almost in the same spot he was the other night. He had a huge night. 6,900. He's got an uptick in minutes. Great defensive matchup. So Nurkic. Ibaka, no. I don't know what's wrong with Ibaka lately. We'll wait till he gets back to normal, but he's just, he can't do anything ever since he got suspended. So are there any changes here? See if there's any updates. Wow, that was a big game, huh? 150 points for OKC today. It's crazy. All right, so Miami. So Dragic is out. Okay, we need to look at this. All right, Dragic is out. Richardson in at point guard. Ellington in at shooting guard. Derek Jones in at small forward. All right, before we go any further, I gotta look at this. So give me a minute. So Dragic is gone. So that usage. So Richardson gets the spot. It's Richardson. Richardson's moving to power. Great spot. So Richardson's now in point guard, which has a great matchup. He's gonna have more minutes, more usage. It's only $6,000, so we got some definite value there. I know he's on a back-to-back, but can't really ignore that. Richardson's in a great spot. So obviously he's only $6,000. I know this game they're on a back-to-back, but $6,000 in the spot that he's in. Is definitely worth a shot. Okay, so now we'll go to who else just changed in that. So we got Ellington in at shooting guard. Derek Jones I'm not interested in. Ellington in at shooting guard. So Ellington goes to, where was he? I already had him at shooting guard. Okay, I just didn't have him starting at shooting guard. Okay, so he's starting now. You know, he's already getting minutes. Yeah, I'm all set. He's kind of already in a bad. He would actually. Now he jumps into a bad defensive matchup coming into the starting spot. So you'd think he'd have an advantage, but he's actually going to go up against tougher defense against the first team. So Ellington, he's at $5,000 already getting close to starter minutes. I don't think you're getting anything there. You're not getting any value there. All right, so what else do we get? What just changed? Okay, so Josh Richardson's the play there, without a doubt. So Macklemore is in for Memphis at shooting guard. Macklemore in for Memphis at shooting guard. Okay, Macklemore in for Memphis. Macklemore. Oh, Macklemore. The heck is Macklemore? So Macklemore, we gotta speed this up here. We got 30 minutes. So Macklemore. 7 from 4. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty, he's minimum salary already. Who did he replace? Let's see who he replaced. So Macklemore is going in for Harrison. So let's see what Harrison was. Yeah, I mean, he's in a decent. He should get a ton of minutes. 33 grand. I know it's not a great game, but I think Macklemore's in play. Another good value play. I mean, 3 grand. He's minimum salary. It's kind of hard to ignore those guys. You know, he gets 15 points and you're all set. I swear he was on. Am I going crazy? Was he not just on Sacramento? Like, am I thinking about a totally different guy? I don't have time to look. All right, Teodosic, Clippers. Well, the other one actually. So Dragic being out. Let me see who else that should bump up. Jones should get a bump for Miami, but we already have. I'd rather Macklemore than Jones. Jones, I just don't trust him. The other one who should benefit on Miami. Both these guys are gonna get a little more of a bump. Whiteside, and James Johnson probably equally gonna get a little bit of a bump, usage-wise, with Dragic being out. Just don't like that total on that game with the rest of these games, though. That's my biggest fear here. Is that. But I wouldn't be afraid to plug either one of these guys in. Whiteside and Johnson. I always look for a great matchup with the centers and power forwards, and they don't have great ones, but they should get that uptick with Dragic being out. But I wouldn't harp on them by any means. Alright, so Teodosic 4, 22 plus. What's his name out? Clippers. Yeah, so he's a pretty safe play too, Teodosic. He's a so I already put Macklemore on the site. LA Clippers, where are you? So I like Teodosic there. He's a tier 4, I think. No, it's a tier 6. Rubio. No. So Rubio and Gilchrist, Kid Gilchrist are no play. Harrison is out. Alright, so kind of got through the meat of the players. One last thing I want to do. So no DVP after 8. So 8 and under. No DVP, so 9. Insert rows. So we got some value now on the slate. So I want to just find not him. So I still don't know how to say his name, but the Valanciunas, is that how you say it, for Toronto. He's on a back-to-back. Again, at Minnesota, so that's a little scary, but he does have a great matchup. But I don't know that you're going to want to use him because his other plays at center, but I do like him. So I will make a mention of him. Again, he's a tier 4, tier 6 for Toronto. Okay, and the other one, again, on a back-to-back, which I don't like. But he's a higher tier play. Not in the best game, but Gobert is in a nice spot. Averaging 36. He has a potential 6-7 times money tonight. 26 plus. Yeah, I like him a lot. So he's a tier 2. I'm gonna have to make him a little darker here because it looks like the same. Oh, that's why. Yeah, I'll just say he's the same. Same thing. Tier 2. So go Bears on there. Turner's got a bad matchup, so I'm all set with him. So green 4. Just want to make sure I'm not missing any. Top plays 3 with a 2. I tell you, this CJ Miles is a nice spot. He's they're on a back-to-back. If they rest some of these guys, he's got some potential there. You know what's his name? You know they start an Anabi. CJ Miles bench play, but CJ ends up playing more minutes than the starter does. And he might play even more if this game gets out of hand. So I like CJ in that spot. Okay, now I want to find a play like we had the other night with whether it was Mills or Parker that went off. So we're looking for the poor game with the good DVP. So can't go below 8. So that's going to leave us with... Okay, so we got 5s here, 5s here, 5s here. So these are our worst games. Those are no bench. Okay, so those aren't going to cut it. Okay, so I got 1. The question is he playing? So Memphis is in a bad game. I just wanted to see. I just want to see if he's playing. We have 17 minutes to lock. Wow, he's not playing. That's crazy. All right, so this is gonna. I'm digging deep now. All right, I'm digging deep. And Macklemore's a must play. I didn't know Chalmers wasn't playing. Okay, here we go. So the green highlight, I don't know which green highlights that you're talking about. I'm probably just making a mark for myself. If you go to the site, that's the best way. Go to the DFS.network and then just follow the tiers. Tier 1s are the orange, the top plays. Tier 2, obviously, the second best plays. Tier 3, Tier 4, and then I made asterisks next to the games if there's something of great value. Richardson and Macklemore, the bright blue, are like the best value plays right now. Right, bear with me a second. So point guard from Memphis. Who else do we got? So Chalmers isn't playing. I think this game's going to get out of control. Macklemore's going to end up staying in there. And then there's going to be a point guard that's going to eat up Chalmers' minutes. And it's probably going to be a minimum salary guy. And that's who the sleeper is on this slate. So let's find out who that is. $13 minutes to lock. Okay, so we're going to go to Memphis. Point guard. So he's not playing either. Wow, they are. So it is Selden Jr. We'll head back to the bench for the against the Pelicans. Is Selden in here? Yeah, here he is. Okay. So again, this is a long shot. Selden Jr. should get the extra minutes for Chalmers. 19 plus. He's the sleeper. Again, long shot. He is a long shot. Do not put him in cash games. But he is worth throwing into a GPP. Selden Jr. He's just not that great of a player. That's the only problem. But it's all right. We're gonna go with him one lineup. All right. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. I think we got everyone. 11. Michael Green. Got the greens. Yep, that's good for me. Let me put him on the site. Selden is shooting guard from Memphis. Selden. Sleeper. You know, Tariq Evans too. You could probably be safe. He's probably a safe play now. They're so short at point guard. But $9,000 in a low game and a back. No, I'm not going to say Tariq. If they pull him out early, this game's going to get out of control. I'm telling you right now. New Orleans going to smoke them. And then Tariq's going to sit out the fourth quarter. So at $9,000, I'll take Selden and Macklemore over them. Even Brooks has got some more value now. Some of the lower price guys. So Harrison, hold on. So Harrison out. So yeah, I'm gonna give a bump up to. I'm gonna say Jermichael Green should get a bump too from that. So there's definitely going to have to be some usage made up. He's probably the cheapest option of a productive guy. You could lose him for the third quarter, and he should get his points, I'm guessing. He's an 11. So, yeah, so Jermichael Green. Okay. That's it. Good luck, everybody.